This is Smile Business Diaries, a DSD podcast. In today's episode of Smile Business Diaries, I have a fascinating conversation with Dr. Diana Torres. She takes me through her journey of clinic ownership, uncovering all the big decisions she's had to make and how they've paid off. Let's begin. After earning her bachelor's degree in biomedical and physical science from the University of Central Florida, Dr. Diana Torres attended the Loma Linda School of Dentistry and was accepted into the Orthodontic and Endodontic honors program. With a background in a small business-oriented family in Colombia, she found greater fulfillment in healthcare-related services through clinical and volunteer work. As a partner at the Family Dentistry of Weston, she aims to combine industrial techniques with a passion for healing and beautifying smiles. Dr. Torres provides comprehensive dentistry, incorporating orthodontics with Invisalign, performing root canals, and offering cosmetic options. Inspired to be a leader in the community, Dr. Torres focuses on meaningful research, clinical excellence, and extensive community service, volunteering at the Mission Dental Clinic in Delray Beach and participating in international mission trips to Nicaragua and Kenya. Welcome, Dr. Torres. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. What a cool way to just, spend some time with each other.
Absolutely. I'm really excited for this conversation because I feel like you have grown so much in such a short period of time, and it's phenomenal, just your energy, your spirit, your story really of, you're in it, I think still, right? I can say you're still participating in your journey to success and transitioning your office in certain ways. So please start us off by explaining, what has been your journey in dentistry and what is your office like right now?
So I mean, thank you for that great intro. I'm originally from Colombia, came to the States when I was about 18, and, I quickly found myself into dentistry as a dental assistant. And, that's how I kind of got started into dentistry. And, while going through dental school, I quickly found out that comprehensive dentistry was the way to go. But you still don't have like a path, right? You still don't know where to, because everything seems to be so basic after dental school. So I was lucky, very lucky to find people like Carla Soto and, people from like you guys in DSD that showed me another path where I could start living life and enjoying dentistry. And, I kind of took that upon me after most of you guys showed me a good pathway for me to follow into modern dentistry and transition my practice from a full insurance-driven practice to now taking some PPOs, quality technology. I get to spend time with patients and just, the best of it, I create connections. I'm a people's person, and I love that I get to sit down with people and just connect with them and then, of course, do their dentistry, right? But, my days just go much smoother than before, for sure.
Oh, definitely. And that's amazing to hear because I think that's the dream, right? Is to be insurance free, not relying on those insurance patients. And I know we're going to get into that more, but can you explain to us, what is your practice like? Where is it located? What's your patient type and how do you practice? That sort of stuff.
So I'm in Florida. I'm located in Weston. That's in Fort Lauderdale. Here in Florida, and I've been in my practice for 5 years. That's the time where I own the practice, and currently, I do all kinds of cosmetic dentistry. I focus a lot on pre-restorative. Ortho. I loved and enjoyed doing Invisalign to get my cosmetic cases on a roll. I think that allows me to be more conservative, to plan my cases better. And that's pretty much kind of like what I do the most. It's still a family dentistry, kind of practice, but it has evolved into a more cosmetic practice with a focus of, maybe functional dentistry, cosmetic dentistry, very conservative, I'm going to call it like, a loving, artful dentistry, concept. because I get to love on my patients. I get to do my art. In the last months, I've been crafting my techniques. And my practice has definitely evolved, in the last year tremendously.
Yeah. I mean, giving perspective, 5 years, I think it's safe to say you're still a new business owner, correct?
Totally.
I mean,
yes,
that's a short window of time if you think about it. And to be able to say, I got this practice full of insurance-based patients, and then now we're completely, if not, maybe almost right, insurance free. Let's talk about that. Now let's just go into it, because I think that's really what people want to know about. And you're in it right now. So how's that experience been, inheriting this practice and the transition process and all?
So I had a great transition process with the previous owner, and we had, like I said, it was a insurance-driven practice, heavy PPO, and I did not have hygienists. So I knew one of my first processes to implement in the practice was to have a strong hygiene, environment where we can start treating periodontal disease in the practice, because that can help educate our patients into everything else. We had to open the window to a lot more things, just single tooth dentistry and managing emergencies, right? So when hygiene department started growing, right, and I was going through 3 hygienists, and my previous owner retired back in 2021, I found myself very busy. I mean, very, very busy. And quickly, I think after a good year after COVID, I felt like that burned out, right? I was like, oh my God, this is a lot. I mean, lots of patients, 3 hygienists, single doctor, myself. And that, I'm a mom, so I need to get home to my first job, right? And, I felt myself exhausted. So I was working 5 days a week. I actually felt like I needed to do one more day, because I used to not do Fridays, and I started doing Fridays because I couldn't keep up. And, quickly, I just realized that wasn't the way how I wanted to do dentistry and life in general. And started, investing in myself. I started creating a mindset. I think that things that I mean, most of what I got from my mentors, and I consider, Carla a mentor, Christian, I mean, you listen to all of them, and you constantly are surrounded by them and their courses. Your mindset starts changing, right? And you're like, okay, how can I do this better? So I'm like, I need to start leaving insurance mindset behind. I need to start creating a better environment for me and my team. And so we are not as tired at the end of the day. So we enjoy doing, even if it's a single filling, but we're not enjoying it anymore. So we were that tired. So it was a mindset. We needed to, kind of stick through it. Last year, I started my process with DSD, which helped me start transitioning from that single tooth dentistry to comprehensive, right? To start reading the mouth in a different way, to just create a path to modern dentistry, better technology, quality of care, patient experience. And with that, I feel like it was easy to start thinking this insurance is not worth it. Okay, this is the first one I need to let go. This year, actually, I was able to let go of kind of 2 of the biggest ones, which is MetLife and Delta. And the transition was hard. I'm not going to lie. There were months where January and the beginning of this year, I went from having all my chairs filled like crazy, and to like, oh my God, it's like a ghost town in here. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what we thought, right? No, but that's normal. What I started realizing is that I had time to then talk to patients, and then I started asking people will you do me a favor? Will you allow me to give you options? Will you allow me to sit down and discuss maybe more things that are going on in your mouth that, I probably missed a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. I've been blessed with patients that have been coming to my practice for over 20 years. Great reputation, great location. Western Florida is a family-oriented, location. A lot of people move from out of the state to this area in particular. Great schools, so of course, lots of families. So family dentistry was still there, that environment, I still wanted it to grow. But then I wanted to do more, like I said, more comprehensive, more loving, more time, more connections. And of course, the dentistry that came with it. So now we're definitely don't see as many patients as before.
And how has that affected? I mean, what has been the greatest impact for you out of this transition?
I think the greatest impact, which is also a big challenge, is on my team. That creating a team culture, it's hard, right? Sometimes I feel like my team is strong, and then one person leaves or moves or something happens, and then it dismantles again. And then boom, I had to get going. I feel like this last year, I've been able to coach. I've been able to bring in some people that go with that flow, and they're staying strong, and they're starting to see the vision, and they're starting to enjoy what they do. So the impact has been on the team, because no matter what, sometimes even when I doubt myself and when I continue to doubt myself, oh my God, should I get into another insurance to get more patients? I'm like, no. I mean, we're leaving at 5 p.m., and I tell my team, guys, it's 5:15. Go home to your kids. We're done. We already did what we got to do. We had fun. The patient experience changed. So besides the team, I mean, the patients noticed. The patients started noticing how the practice just, went from busy, darker, till it looks like now I actually had some patients come and sit in my reception area to have coffee and read, or on their computer, because they find it more, I don't know, they find it like a better place.
Right, the patient experience. Yeah,
the patient experience. So, I mean, it's been a lot on the team, and it takes a team to do anything. But I think that has been the biggest impact. We're all happier, and I've been able to retain the key people in my office. So, and then with that, I feel, of course, the patients feel it.
Right. So do you feel like, because I think there's a big fear, well, there is a big fear, right, of going into that transition of eliminating insurance from the practice. For you personally, what were your greatest fears, and how did you talk yourself out of, stopping before you even got started?
Mindset. I think I can hear both Carla and Christian. Mindset. Stay strong, right? Yeah. Just a better way to do dentistry, a better life. I think even a recent course that I attended by Miguel Ortiz, he was all about lifestyle dentistry, right? And whenever my husband was a huge supporter, he knew how hard I was working and how exhausted I was and how it was just not paying off, Yeah. So I just like, the collections truly haven't been as affected. They haven't been. I guess that was one of my huge concerns. I'm like, am I going to be able to support my team? The overhead, right? I'm not seeing as many patients. So you think that you're so busy, you're seeing all these patients, but in reality, when you look at your bottom line, you're probably, you're just seeing volume, right? And then you're not performing the dentistry that you want, and then your profits are still not worth it, as busy as you thought you were.
Right.
Now
that's what happened.
But we're there. We're the same, probably the same.
Right. So was that like a revelation that you came about, or
totally? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it was the first few months, it was hard. And I'm like, because like I said, it was like a ghost town compared to how my office used to be. I was like, okay, you guys need call every patient that hasn't been in the practice, and the team was just calling patients. Right. But now my team has time to go and promote my practice, and then we're looking for the patients that fit into our vision and our model. And yes. We don't have to, for me, I didn't have to see everybody. I had to change that in me. I didn't have to help every single patient that came into my practice that maybe didn't value dentistry the same way. And then changing that mindset on the team is a constant struggle. But now they're there because they've seen it. They're like, oh, this is so much fun. So much fun to see one patient a day.
Yes. And I think that's a misconception of a lot of practices, is like, if I'm not busy, then I'm not succeeding, right? And that's not the case. So that's amazing. Hello, I'm just taking a quick break from this podcast interview to tell you how you can get started with DSD. If there was anything that our guest has mentioned that strikes a chord with you, or you are curious about becoming a DSD clinic, I encourage you to book a call with me. This is a 30-minute, no-obligation information sharing session in which I can answer your questions about DSD and discuss your options based on your unique circumstances. The link to schedule a call with me can be found in the notes on this episode. Now, back to the interview. What was I going to ask you? So the transition, how did the existing patient, how did you have that conversation with them? How did they react to it? Because I think that's another fear from offices is I don't want to upset my patients, my existing patients, right? This is the way they've had it. I'm not going to change it up on them. And it's almost like you're working for the patient at that point, right? And they're dictating your livelihood and what you do in your practice. So what did you do in that situation?
I think the biggest thing was preparing. I did work with a company that helped in the transition. It's been going on for a year or two. So it's a long process with insurances to negotiate, fee schedules and then just to drop out of some, insurances. So then we started preparing, right? We started sending messages. We started emailing patients about, what's out of network, not restricted providers do, and how I was still able to take patients in my office and how I was still able to serve you as a patient in my practice and how I was not as restricted, how I was going to be able, no matter what, it was about the patient because I was not restricted by insurance, right? I was not restricted by patients and insurance dictating what was the best for them.
Right.
So I try to create a message. We emailed a lot our existing patients, but it started with the team. The team was what was, I think, the biggest challenge, just for them to say, oh, we're out of network, we don't take insurance. And we had to create a whole, this is what you say when we don't take insurance. We do take your insurance. We love to have you. And it was changing. It was that connection and that patient experience, right? From the phone call. If they ask, do you take my insurance? Like, I will welcome to take your insurance to understand what insurance do you have, but tell me about you, right? It was about connecting to the patient. So that was the first change. My business assistants needed to change the conversation up in the front. We were emailing patients, and then we started probably last year around November, December, with the Delta and the biggest, insurances in my practice sending letters. No matter what, patients forgot all about it. So as they were coming, and we also told them, right? And then some forgot about it. And then they came in, and then we reminded, we're a non-restricted provider, and this is how it works. We've been still going through the ups and downs of it. So I'm still suffering, the whole process. So some patients understand, and they're like, you know what? I've been to another dentist, and they're doing the same thing. And I'm like,
more common.
Amazing. Others are like, you know what? You don't take my insurance, I'm out. And you know what? I was like, it's okay. I kept saying to myself, this patient's been here for 20 years. It's okay. They're not seeing it. Exactly. And there's some that have come back. Few.
See, and that I think that's a great filtering technique, right? Of who's there for the right reasons and who's there because of the value you bring, right? You don't want those patients that are only going to do what insurance tells them to do because they just don't understand the overall health benefits and, the type of dentistry that you're doing to help them. So,
it's like you said, that value is key. But my biggest, pet peeve of this is just if we can have the team see the value of what we do for them, right? And what we can do in the practice, not only for the team member itself, because you come to work to a different, environment, but what we do for people, right? That fills our days, right? If we're a people person, if we're treating people constantly, we feel better when we do something good for people. So that was the biggest starting point. Okay. And it took me a while. There's some people that couldn't make it through the process and some that I was able to, retain and see the vision. So just show the value of what we do, educate them on that, and make sure they understand the history that they have in this practice. Because I had a lot of patients from, over 20 years in that practice, well-established practice. It was hard for them to see why you're charging me for this now, and he never did 3 years ago. So
yes. Yeah. So how do you handle that? What is your conversation like in that scenario?
I go from I just come out with examples about, the dentistry that they want, the quality of life that, that they want to, that they want to do for themselves. I even done the whole typical Whole Foods, Walmart, grocery shopping. I mean, it's totally up to them. And it goes back to what you want for yourself. And, I'm here for you. We have a history. I've been treating you for the last 5 years, but you've been in this practice for 20. But wouldn't you want better for yourself? Wouldn't you want that the practice that you've been has evolved and is giving you better options for your own,
right.
Healthcare. So,
right.
I mean, why isn't that amazing? Some
right.
patients couldn't see it. Some, they were like, true, I've been here, me. And I'm glad you're doing better. Why not better? I go back to my previous owner too, because he transitioned with me for a couple of years. And I used him as an example because he kept telling patients that I was a better version of him. Mm-hmm. And that helped me.
Yes, absolutely.
And I said, you wouldn't want the same version, because we have evolved and dentistry has to. And it's amazing that he brought me in to give his patients the opportunity to have better quality care. And he still comes to the practice sometimes. I did Invisalign on him, he was my model around the practice for a couple of years. So I think that conversation helped a lot, but I'm still going through it constantly.
Of course. And I mean, do you think it's ever going to have an ending? Is that something you can get to a point where you're like, I'm done with this and we're settled and I don't have to do anything else?
That would be a dream. Imagine. If the patients come and look for me without thinking what kind of insurance, I'm going to be taking, that would be amazing. I think I have a long ways to go. What makes me feel great is that the team is on board and they're enjoying what they're doing. And I know they're communicating pretty much the same way.
Yes. And there's something you mentioned earlier that caught my attention, was that when you're presenting the new internal strategy, but the new policies in the office of, we're not taking insurance anymore, this is the way it is. You said something that caught my attention, where you said, I'm going to present this to you because there may have been something that I missed in previous years. Mm-hmm. That right there, I think, stood out because it seems to be such a hard thing, especially in the level of education dentists have, and just how you've been, molded over the years of education to constantly be at such a high level of intelligence, such a high level of performance and clinical skills, that it's hard for us. It's hard for anybody to admit, hey, I may have missed something. Hey, there could have been a situation where we didn't go over everything. So now that I have this technology or whatever is going on, to be able to admit to that. So what are your thoughts on that? As far as communicating with patients, do you believe it's better to show that, hey, I'm human, I make mistakes? Or should we focus on what we've been used to of, I don't make mistakes, I know what's best for you? How do you come into the room, and how has it helped you?
I've learned this from my husband. Nothing better than the truth, right? And it is what it is. I think the more humble we are about, what we've done, and I think patients will connect with you a little bit more, or a lot more. And so, yeah, I have come to patients in which, I tell them, we treat this different nowadays, and I have invested in myself for me to do better for you. And even though that sometimes can come out, I said, I definitely have put myself in a place that I'm like, there were some things that I was treating different. I could not see it. I did not see it. It's kind of like, if you don't know it was that saying that if you never export, it's like, you never see something, how are you going to be able to then educate it or educate patients about it? So I tell them, I think I just go as humble as I can, and be honest about what we did in the past and how we have invested, more in the practice and the team and the technology to do better quality care, and why not do that for them, And so I think honesty and being leaving the egos to the side is probably the best way. And I mean,
Yes.
I think that's the best way to connect with people overall.
Yeah, and I think it's a misconception too. A lot of times because again, the worst thing that we see happening is, oh, I admit to not knowing everything, and then now the patient thinks I'm not good enough, or I'm not, skilled enough to do the work on them. But in reality, and tell me if this has happened to you, it's like, you be completely honest up front to the patient, and it's almost like they trust you more after that, right? Because they see, okay, you're being honest, you're being real with me, you're not hiding anything. And I truly believe people can feel and sense if there's something, being locked up inside that we're not completely being transparent about. And it's not something you put into words, because it's that feeling, right? Like something doesn't feel right. He's got all the degrees on the walls, he's renowned and all these things, but there's something that's not feeling right. And I think people sense that.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah. So what do you think of that as far as, has there ever really been a patient that's like, oh, I don't trust you from this point forward because you admitted that maybe there was something missing?
No, not really. I don't think I've come across any situation where the patient says, you know what, I don't think you're not what you're talking about. No matter what, I tell patients, I'm in a path where I feel like I can guide you in this process. And if I don't know the how, or I actually am surrounded by a great, group of people that are, super smart, that are in the same process and even way above me, that are, guiding myself and my dentistry and the kind of dentistry that I want to provide to you. So I think I actually had a patient recently. It's funny because I did a whole, test drive. He came maybe about a month ago, and we discussed ortho before restorative. And he unfortunately, Monday on his birthday, broke tooth number 7. And so he comes with tooth hanging, still in his mouth, right? And I tagged him with my implant guy who comes to my office on Wednesdays. And he, after this smile test drive, and he was like, oh, maybe I'm not so secure. He's been in my practice forever. And he just said, how come nobody told me about this teeth? And I said, this is why I took the time to, maybe look at your case. And I created then the value, and I was taking the time to evaluate all of it. I took pictures, I took videos, like I had you here in front of me, what I was creating the best treatment options for you. And he actually came back on Wednesday. We got the tooth extracted. We started ortho treatment. Now we have the end in mind, right? Because he already seen it. He just probably went through the I don't believe you kind of process, right? And then it took this emergency for him to either come back, but he had in his mind that I had done my research, that I spent more time with him. And I know he was doubting me, but I took care of him. Monday, I gave him quickly. I made an S6 for him, and by Wednesday we had done extraction, and I have everything going on for ortho. And he already knows kind of what his smile is going to look like, because we had already done a test drive, which we reevaluated this week, like a month ago. So so patients still doubt me, And sometimes, unfortunately, things happen that they end up coming back to you, and they're like, oh, shoot, I think you might have been right.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you probably knew what you were talking about, because you had put a lot of effort into it. He was probably not going to go to another practice, start all over. Right? So
what was the part that you feel like he felt confident enough in to keep continuing with you? Because if he was doubting maybe the process or what you were telling him at all, what do you think was the link there that allowed him to continue?
So when we first did his DSD mock-up and test drive and, his presentation, he kept asking me lots of questions. And he felt at the end that I just wanted to kind of sell him on the Invisalign. Because he mentioned it, and then I showed him a clean check. I mean, I showed him pictures. I mean, he looked great with the mock-up, but he was like, wow, this is, I mean, you just want to do ortho on me. And I'm like, and then I explained, and he kept asking me questions. Very methodical guy. Not only that, his personality is, is the type who's like always doubty, right? He's like, oh, should I not?
Yeah.
And then on Monday when he came, I showed him this digital scan, and I said, let's find out why this tooth broke. And I pretended like we forgot about that whole DSD presentation, right? And then I showed him the biggest contact. It was like on a crossbite canine, lower canine hidden exactly on this root canal treated lateral. A huge contact on it. So he says, we knew that from, heavy grinding, bruxism, and then the trauma that you have going on, some of these teeth were going to give in. And we were trying to avoid that, but that's okay. We have a plan in place. And then he felt more like, oh, that's true. And then, I was able to give him on his birthday, poor guy, quickly an Essex that he could hold the tooth, because he actually didn't want me to pull the tooth on that day. And I was like, it's okay. We don't have to. Let me just give you a little something. So you can hold on to the tooth. You can take pictures. The next day was his daughter's birthday. So he actually came back until Wednesday this week for me to actually do the extraction, because he says, I'll wait. I don't want the tooth to come out. And I'm like, well, we'll hold it with an Essex.
He's got to let go at some point.
And he finally let go. And then, what's amazing about this, and he paid up front for his whole treatment.
Amazing. So I assume you did the DSD planning on him.
Yeah, we did.
I've heard many times, but I want to hear from you. What has been your feeling of treatment plan presentation before DSD and then after having that comprehensive visual communication to assist you in the treatment plan conversation? How has that helped you? What do you feel, when you go into that conversation now?
I think it has allowed me to show patients the possibilities, right? And even for myself, I think what DSD creates a path, especially for somebody like me. I mean, super insurance driven. I was pretty much in the middle of my storm, right? Doing single tooth dentistry. And I was not presenting big cases. I was like, I knew those patients needed more work, but I'm like, oh my God, I'm so busy that I'm just going to treat that one fractured tooth, or, maybe the couple of veneers that they want. But I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a process. So the treatment planning with the presentation and the team putting it together and being involved in it, I think has been the key. But now I have a path. Now I have a process that I can always follow. And I feel more confident because I know I have a group of people behind me, kind of supporting this process, right? So we're doing an ortho case with Daniel, and I know it's a complex case that I probably would have taken in the past. And I feel confident. I'm like, I have their support. If he says it's good for me to go, why not? I mean, I can do this. I have good, a treatment plan and great presentation that I can show patients, their options. Now I have like a, like step by step. Okay, where should I go next? What can I show the patient that can help them connect to what they really want and need? How do I present it? And then it's a matter of just like closing the case afterwards, right? And then getting the little insurance hurdle, like, kicking into the side.
One day it'll be gone. Insurance won't exist one day, I hope.
Oh my God, I hope so.
Dental insurance, at least. I'm biased, of course, but the DSD Planning Center offers such an amazing, I guess not cushion, but like security, however you want to phrase it, right? Yeah. Because it's, and even if you don't, listeners, if you don't use the Planning Center with DSD, having that team or having that reliable source of somebody to back your word, I think is super important. And just like you're explaining with your confidence level and how you feel going into that conversation, because it's very common. And I've had this question many times that it's like, how do you have the conversation with patients that come from another office, have been there for 20 plus years and not once was told about this tooth or this problem that was going on. And then new dentist comes in. And what I mean, I'm sure you've encountered this. What is the common reaction to that you've had when it's like, I'm the new dentist. By the way, you have this thing going on that no one in the past has ever told you. How does the patient respond to that, right?
Yeah, I just use my visuals a lot. So I use my intraoral imaging and my digital scanning to kind of ask them if they see what I see. And because if they see it, they cannot unsee it. And I don't have to blame. I mean, a lot of patients comes to you and they start describe their whole experience that they had with the previous dentist, right? And I listened to it and I said, I'm glad you're sharing that experience. Let's go over kind of what's really going on right now. Let's see, let's tackle that. And I went through that with the previous owner, right? He had missed perio. He had missed, the fractured tooth, and now I'm here telling them, right? So my first things before scanners, I was taking intraoral pictures. Every room got an intraoral camera, and I was just popping pictures like crazy. I was like, hygienist, everything that you see, you pop a picture, clean that tooth, and put it in front of them. And then do you see what I see? I actually learned this from BT. She's in Canada, and she kind of taught me this process, but ask them to, what is it that they see? And then if they see it, yes, the other person missed it, but it's okay. They see it already. You could treat it. And that's how I've been managing, I show them and I just bring them back to now. It's okay what happened in the past. And then I start reading the person a lot. And then I start kind of then hinting them of what could happen. A lot of them, I got a filling done in another practice. I've been having pain. She adjusted the bite 20 times and now everything hurts. They have a lot of wear and tear on their teeth. Every tooth is undenting. That you touch one of those teeth, they're going to be sensitive. And then I said, totally. I mean, I'm not blaming the other person. I feel bad. They actually probably should have said to these people that they were going to have a lot of sensitivity on the simplest filling that they were going to do. Now I tell these people, now I know what they need to hear before I start treatment. So is also reading the patient and also having them see what you see. And if they don't see it, then pointing it out. And then this is what happens. And yes, we probably didn't see it before. It was not as prominent. It was probably too early. But now I see it. Yeah. Do you want to do something about it now?
Right.
Is it one for you? That's what I ask them to a lot.
That's a good question, right? Because I think a lot of times patients come in, well, we know this with the perception of dentistry, and they have their assumptions that it's going to go a certain way, and this is how it's been for me in the past. And so if anything disturbs or disrupts that, and this is human nature at this point, it's like we can't really admit to our faults, right? And we can't admit that there's something going on in our mouths that we were responsible for. So has that situation ever happened to you where, it's clear as day, here's the issue, I'm sorry no one told you about this, but the patient for whatever reason is like, no, I want to be treated the same way I was the last 20 years by the same person. I don't want to acknowledge my faults. I don't want to deal with my problems, that person.
Yeah, I know everything gets blamed on the previous dentist or their dentist. Right. I had that. I actually had somebody this week, and she's been a patient. I actually was looking at their chart notes who, they're scanning. I said, okay, pull out my computer, root canal down at number 8, in 2017 or 2007 or something like that. And, she's like, oh, that crown was, it was left open. I'm like, the crown has, you don't need to blame anybody. But, unfortunately, it's human nature. Like you said, we just blame it on, that tooth never hurt. Now it hurts. You touched it and now it got messed up. And, it's kind of like human nature. I've been trying, and especially now that I'm not as insurance driven, the whole mindset that the patient's problems are my problems has also changed a little bit, because sometimes you tend to own that and you feel, the blame, right? And I'm like, you know what? No, I'm here to help. I'm giving it my all, have invested in myself, and the team have invested in a team that can provide better quality dentistry, that can communicate better. And I just feel that we just gotta pass that information to patients. I mean, you see them not brushing, right? You see them heavy perio and they're blaming you for failed crowns, now these veneers are failing, but the perio is not under control. And you bring them every so often. They have periodontal cleanings every 3 years.
Oh.
So why do I take the
Right.
blame for that failed crown if the patient hasn't, so now I tell my patients, it's a teamwork. It's a team effort. We're going to do the best, but you got to be so compliant so that periodontal disease is under control. So I'm not owning their problems as much. And I'm coming out more as a coach guider. I'm here to help you. And this is where we are. Do you see what I see? And is it important for you to fix this?
Yes. Amazing. And I mean, you've had a lot of transitions, not just with the insurance, right? I think your mindset, it's very clear. There was a pivotal moment for you. You mentioned Carlos Soto, Christian Coachman have been big mentors or influences for you. What would you say are like top 3 or top few, however many you can list, of the most impactful, most, just result-driven moments in the past year, I guess it would be, that helped you to pivot like this? And, what was it specifically that caused you to go in this direction?
I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I just wanted to do life and dentistry and at the same time, and I wanted to enjoy it more. I wanted to feel better when I left my practice, like more fulfilled. So the moments that, the moments where we started doing comprehensive dentistry, and after a long day of maybe one patient, full mouth, when my team was dancing at the end of the day, and I think one day it happened, like literally a patient came in, we did dentistry. It was hard because the patient had high anxiety, so it was draining. But let me tell you, they were all cleaning at the end of the day. They played music and we're all kind of dancing. It was like a hard day because it was, even though it was a single patient, it was high anxiety, right? Yeah. But it wasn't as bad as when we saw 40 patients a day. 3 hygienists, single doctor. I have 7 ops practice. I used to be busy. I used to jump from room to room. And that's what made it. Now I kind of flow into each room.
Amazing. So what have been the best tools for you, or the best, if you could tell somebody, if you want to make this transition in your practice, you want to start doing more comprehensive cases and delivering those types of full mouth rehabs, what is the checklist of items that you would say, look into this, do this to make it easier on you?
So surround yourself with, great mentors out there. Now we have more access to them, right? We have more access to seeing great mentors out there. That's how I found Dr. Galler. That's how I found Carla, right? And quickly got involved with them, and then started connecting with people that I could probably be at that same level. I can find my path, in that same to the same place. So mindset, just start following somebody that you see yourself, doing probably the same. And not that you're going to change your life to kind of what they are, right? But sometimes there's similarities, right? And like, okay, that's the kind of dentistry I want to do. That's the kind of lifestyle I want to have. For me, is just have more time with my kids. I have a 6 and a 4-year-old. So, active. We go to jiu-jitsu at 6 p.m. We do chess, at 5. And then we have arts classes and whatever. So I wanted to, look up to that and, found mentors, start creating a mindset for myself. And the third thing that I think is important is invest into the kind of dentistry that I wanted to learn to provide for my patients, because that can lead me into a better, mom, to a better wife, at the end of the day because I can come home at a decent time compared to my, 7 to 7. I currently work Monday through Thursday. I don't work Fridays, and Tuesdays I do a 7 to 2. So I switched from Monday through Friday. I think for a minute I consider a Saturday, but I didn't do it. Thank God. My babies were 2 babies, so I didn't do it. But then I said no, so I made it. I was finding a way to fit dentistry into the life that I wanted to do and what I wanted to give to my kids and, back home. So I think it's just mindset, invest in yourself, surround yourself with the right mentors, and then, find the team and create the culture that can propel that vision, that you have in mind. Because at the end of the day, it helps all of the pieces, I tell, and I think I got this from Christian. I mean, if the team doesn't see it for themselves, they won't care, right? They'll be like, this is for you. This is your dream.
Right.
And that was one of the first things I listened to, I needed to help my team see what it was in it for them. And you'll have more time, you'll be able to leave, home to home at a decent time. And you'll enjoy coming to work. Right. You're not doing the single tooth suctioning. I mean, you're taking pictures, you're doing mock-ups, you're having fun with patients.
The dentist is nicer to you at that point. Everyone's happier.
Yes. So I think that was a big thing for me. What I'll probably,
Has there been any regrets along the way? Like is there anything that you would have done differently?
I don't, there's always things that you could, do different. You always learn from it. I feel like if I were to have a second practice, I will have a better idea of the things that I would probably spend more time in, like the team. I'll probably get going with a stronger team from the get-go. But that there's a challenge in every practice. So, I mean, it's hard to tell, but I feel like I'll be more confident going into having even, if I were to do this all over again or into a second practice, I'll be like, okay, I know this is my first priority. And then this, I'm not even going to waste time on,
Okay. So is there anything specific that you can think of?
I mean, insurances definitely will be a thing that I would ever do. I think if I were to bring an associate into my practice, I'm like, you're not even going into insurances. I'm never doing that to you, my friend. Okay, that's the first thing I would do. And then I'll probably just start creating a strong culture very quickly in the practice because that translates to the patients really fast. So absolutely. I think just creating that vision, which is also a challenge, just knowing exactly where you want to go, it's hard because you have so many pieces, right? And you're like, oh, should I go this? Should I do that? But then once you find out that little thing, it's just putting that vision out there for the team, and then just showing them what will be their part in it, right? So they can jump on the bus, And if they don't, I think what I'll do different is I wouldn't linger with team members that didn't want to jump into the vision.
Yeah. I think that's falling into the people pleaser mindset that we are born with, and I think a lot of dental professionals that's a natural skill that we just have, and probably one of the influences of getting into dentistry. But I think that's a good point to make is, when they're not a fit, just cut it out, right? It's
let go.
Yes, letting go. It's hard for us to do, to let go of number 7. That's the best way to say it, right? Let it go.
You eventually build thick skin for it. I remember the first time I fired somebody, right? It was like, oh my God, I felt so bad. And now it's like, just if it's not working out, guys, just we gotta make it happen. Absolutely. And I feel like I'm coaching now the next person, which I never saw myself doing. I follow up, I kind of look up to all the, like Carla or Christian or other doctors, and I'm like, I could do the same, and I could start with my own team. I could coach my own team to be better. And that has been, for example, my office manager. He was like, I'm gonna let this one go, and I'm like this. This is what you're going to do,
Right.
and you want me to be there with you? And they're like, no. I'm like, perfect. You see?
Yeah.
Go. And I remember that last time I was working in hygiene, and I said, either you wait for me until 5 o'clock, and he actually brought the team member into my office, did the thing, walked the patient out, the team member out. And I'm like, okay, I'm finishing out my hygiene exam, and we're done with all of it today. I'm like,
Yeah.
Good. So it feels good when you were able to empower other people to do things that they haven't done, because they help you grow. But I have gotten from the people that has done the same thing to me, I have felt empowered by other female dentists to do that, to feel confident about what you're doing, and to, kick ass when you're in your practice.
Exactly. Yeah. And, I think too, a lot of the times we go into, the firing phase of a employee, and we look at it like, oh, we're doing something horrible to them, but really you could be doing something amazing for them, right? And I think that's the key going into that room, is saying, this is a gift to you, because now you can go out there and find the position that's really fitted for you, that's meant for you, and grow in your means of wherever life leads you, right? Because holding somebody to that position that isn't good for your practice helps nobody. It just does more damage. And so that's, I think, the key there is to realize you're not doing a bad thing, right?
No. I tell them, you got to find a happy place. It will help all of us. You'll be happier wherever you are. You'll probably find, a better opportunity for you. Maybe not in dentistry. But not only that, the team quickly, now that my team quickly feels when somebody doesn't fit, but it has taken me a long time to get my key people in the practice. Right. And when one of them, my hygienist who's key, she's about to get into dental school. And I was like, oh, my team is about to get, a rocky moment again. I mean, I know it's coming. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, I need to start thinking about the next person, because once she's a key person in my office, right? She sees my vision fully, and then you start relying so much on them that you feel people as your family, and you're like, oh my God, one of them is gonna go soon, like dental school, right? Which I have several in my practice that has happened, and you're like, okay, let's do it again. Let's find the next person.
It'll never end.
Yeah, it'll never end. That one will never end. I hope the insurance does. This one will stick with me my whole life while I'm a practice owner.
Exactly.
No matter what, I think owning the practice has been the best thing for me. So if there's anybody out there that feels the need or the itch, I think go for it. Anybody should just own their practice today, own their path, invest in themselves, and kind of get out of network. Don't jump into any insurances, and learn how to do the dentistry that, a lot of patients value, but they don't know about.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anything else as a final message to listeners? What is it that you want them to take away from this the most?
I think what I just said, feel comfortable enough. I think invest in yourself and surround yourself with a good network of doctors and other people too that you can look up to do what you like the most, to kind of master your craft in a way that you feel better about the dentistry that you do. And also something that I continue to work on is how to be a better leader, right? How do I invest in myself, not only in the clinical part, but also in the business part, so I can be a better leader for my team, so I can engage the team better, so I can create better culture. But it started with me, but it started with other people that had already created that path for themselves. And I just started kind of hanging out with them, and so I could stay motivated, so it can help in the process of my mindset shift. It just takes that mindset. Just stick to it, be consistent, and then invest in your own, learning, either dentistry or business wise, whatever you want to do, but invest in yourself. And of course, I feel like owning my practice has given me that possibility, because I get to create my path based on what I learn.
Right.
So I think that's why I know owning a practice is not for everybody, but you create your own mistakes and then you learn from them and you make it your own,
Absolutely. But to have the ability, right? Just having the freedom is alone something special. But it's amazing to see that 5 years of your own practice, you've managed to convert this old traditional practice of, how many years was the previous dentist there?
20.
Okay, so I didn't pull that number out of thin air. So it was 20 years, and to be able to take something that's so solidified in 20 years and convert it to really what everyone's looking for. No insurance, solo own, you get to make all the decisions on your own. You got your team in progress and developing and creating that culture. It's amazing. It's truly amazing what you've done in such little time. So I think you have so much to share, so much to teach others on your journey and for them to learn from. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts at DSD for sharing your story, for just being a part of our network. Because again, you're such a special person. So it's wonderful to always talk to you and hear from you. And I really believe a lot of people are going to enjoy this conversation. So thank you.
Oh no, thank you so much. It's been fun. I don't, I'm still in my path to do better dentistry, better life with dentistry. But I love that I can get to share that. I still feel like I have a long ways, but I'm going to give it up to, my husband and definitely the doctors that I have surrounded myself with that have helped me in that mindset shift completely to quality of life. And, being a mom and being a dentist is a challenge in itself, but I'm enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, and doing the dentistry you've been wanting to do. It's finally here. You're building that, and it's wonderful to hear that DSD has been able to help you in that. So
it's been a pleasure. No, it's been fun to be part of the DSD family, and just thank you for inviting me into this, business series. I love it. I love the concept. I think it's gonna do great, and I mean, if you keep doing this, I would love to do more of it.
Awesome, absolutely.
It's fun. I love it.
Good. So if there were somebody out there that wants to learn more and, resonated with your story, how could they get in touch with you?
So you'll find me either at home or in my office, right? So you can email me at drdianatorres@gmail.com. That's probably the fastest way. And Instagram is Dr. Diana Torres, and Artful Dentistry in Weston is my practice. And I mean, you can always reach out in my practice to my, our practice phone number is 954-384-8484. That sounds like a commercial.
That's amazing.
But, I think now email or social media is the fastest way to communicate. But if you want to reach out to me, definitely Instagram me, email me, and I will love to, show anybody what I know. I still know very little. I'm just starting. So, but I think it's just, I'm holding hands with other people, and they're lifting me up with them. So I think that's the cool part of this network.
Absolutely. And it's something we all rely on, right? So we can't do this alone. And, it's just our little bubble here has been wonderful. So again, thank you for being in it. And we'll hopefully have a little update in the future. We'll have you back on and hear, how the progression's been.
It will be great to see how this evolves. It will be really, really fun to see it. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you so much, Diana. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, be sure to like and share it with your professional network. In the next episode, I talk to Dr. Ramin Tabib. If you subscribe to Smile Business Diaries, you won't miss it.